the night that changed everything. Takeoff was gone in a moment, but the storm he left behind is still tearing through his family years later. What looked like one heartbreaking night in Houston slowly became something much bigger, a fight over legacy, justice, money, grief, and the painful question of who truly stood by him before the world knew his name. In the early hours of the 1st of November 2022, Houston was still alive with noise. The city had been buzzing. People were moving through downtown, and a private gathering at 810 billiards, and bowling was supposed to end like any other celebrity night. Music fading, people walking out, cars pulling away, everyone going home with another story to tell. But that was not how this night ended. Takeoff, born Kirsnick Carey Ball, was only 28 years old. He was not the loudest member of Migos. He was not the one chasing cameras. He was the quiet force, the sharp technician. The rapper fans defended because they knew how much he brought to the group, even when the spotlight did not always land on him first. That night, he was standing outside as tension grew around an argument that police later said he was not involved in. He was not the reason it started. He was not the center of the dispute. He was simply there, near the wrong place at the worst possible second. Then everything collapsed. The crowd scattered. Houston police arrived. The world woke up to the kind of news hip-hop fans never want to hear again. Takeoff was dead. Within hours, tributes poured in. Murals appeared. Fans returned to his music, and the culture began mourning a man many felt had never truly received his flowers while he was alive. But behind the public grief, his mother, Titania Davenport, was facing something far deeper than headlines. She had lost her son, her provider, her purpose, and the person who had made her a mother. And as the world asked what happened that night, another question was forming quietly behind the scenes. What happens to everything Takeoff left behind? If you're watching from Atlanta, Houston, New York, LA, or anywhere in the world, comment where you're watching from. If you believe Takeoff's legacy deserves protection, press 1. If you think this story is deeper than people realize, press 2. And make sure you subscribe, because this story only gets heavier from here. The quiet star of Migos. Before the courtrooms, before the settlement, before the family fight, Takeoff was a kid from Lawrenceville, Georgia, learning how to turn rhythm into identity. His story did not start with fame. It started inside a family structure that was tight, complicated, and deeply connected. He was raised by his mother, Titania Davenport, alongside his uncle Quavo, who was close enough in age and life experience to feel more like a brother than an older relative. That bond became the foundation of everything. Quavo, Takeoff, and Offset did not feel like a manufactured rap group built in a label office. Migos felt like a real family business. 3 voices from the same world, speaking the same language, finishing each other's energy before the beat even dropped. Takeoff's role was different. He was not always the loudest personality, but he had precision. His flow was controlled, his delivery was sharp, and his presence gave Migos a technical weight that many casual listeners missed at first. Even when Bad and Bougie became the song that sent Migos into a different universe, Takeoff was famously not on it. For some artists, being left off the group's biggest mainstream record might have created bitterness. But Takeoff did what he always seemed to do. He stayed quiet. He kept working. He let the music speak for him. That quietness became part of his legend, but it also made his death feel even more unfair. He was not known as a troublemaker. He was not famous for public chaos. He seemed like the one who stayed focused, stayed calm, stayed close to the craft. Just weeks before his death, he and Quavo released Only Built for Infinity Links, a project that looked like the beginning of a new chapter. Migos had been surrounded by rumors and internal tension, but Takeoff and Quavo still had music to make, still had chemistry, still had a future that felt wide open. Then, in less than a month, that future was erased. The album that should have marked a new beginning became part of the last chapter of his life. And when fans went back to listen after he was gone, the song sounded different. Every verse felt heavier. Every line felt like something people wished they had appreciated sooner. A mother left with silence. For fans, Takeoff's death was a shock. For hip-hop, it was a cultural wound. But for Titania Davenport, it was the loss of a son who had built his adult life around taking care of her. That part matters because the public often sees artists as brands, streams, albums, and numbers. But families know them as sons, brothers, nephews, and protectors. Titania was not just the mother of a famous rapper. According to the story laid out in the sample, she was the woman who raised him, supported him before the fame, and stood by him when there was no guarantee the music would ever pay off. Before Migos became a household name, before the platinum records and global tours. There was a mother helping her son survive long enough to chase the dream. And when Takeoff made it, he remembered. He reportedly bought her a home, helped with cars, covered living expenses, and made sure she was cared for. That was not just money, that was loyalty. That was a son paying back years of sacrifice in the only way he could once success finally arrived. So when he died, Titania did not only lose emotional support, she lost the person who had become part of the structure of her everyday life. The house, the bills, the routines, the phone calls, the sense that her son was somewhere in the world still moving, still creating, still reachable, all of it changed overnight. And then came the legal responsibilities. Because Takeoff did not leave a will, his estate became more complicated than anyone outside the family could have imagined. His music catalog, royalties, property, vehicles, business interests, and future income were suddenly not just symbols of success. They were assets that had to be managed, protected, and divided under the law. Titania became involved in handling his estate and pursuing accountability for the night that took him away. But grief does not pause because paperwork arrived. A mother can be broken inside and still have to sign documents, meet lawyers, answer questions, and sit through hearings. That is the cruel part of public tragedy. The world moves on to the next headline, but the family is left with silence, deadlines, and rooms where their pain gets discussed in legal language. The legacy becomes a legal battlefield. Takeoff's estate was reportedly worth millions, but the real value was never just financial. His catalog was alive. His music continued streaming. His voice continued moving through cars, headphones, clubs, playlists, and tribute videos. Every time fans played Migos, every time someone discovered the last rocket, every time a new generation realized how clean his flow was, his legacy kept breathing. But without a will, the question of who controlled that legacy became dangerous. Under the law, when someone dies unmarried and without children, surviving parents can become central figures in inheritance. That sounds simple until you look at the human reality behind the legal category. Titania raised him. Kenneth Ball, Takeoff's father, was described in the sample as largely absent from his life. Yet legally, both parents could have claims. That is where the story becomes painfully complicated. The law does not always measure love. It does not always weigh who showed up at school events, who paid bills, who encouraged the dream, who answered late-night calls, or who held the family together when there was no fame and no money. The law often begins with biology, paperwork, and status. That means someone who was not deeply present can still step into a legal fight once money is involved. And that is exactly the tension at the heart of this case. After the wrongful death lawsuit connected to the Houston venue reportedly reached a confidential settlement, a new battle began over how that money should be distributed. Titania's side argued from the position of a mother who raised Takeoff and depended on him. Kenneth Ball's side argued from the position of a biological father with legal standing. To the public, that difference felt enormous. To a court, it had to be argued carefully. This is why the fight is not just about a check. It is about recognition. It is about whether the person who helped build Takeoff's life should have stronger control over what remains of it. It is about whether absence should carry the same legal weight as sacrifice. And every filing, every jurisdiction argument, every dispute over Texas or Georgia became another reminder that Takeoff's death did not end the pain. It turned his legacy into a battlefield. The father who returned after the loss. Kenneth Ball's name was not one most fans knew before Takeoff's death. After the tragedy, he publicly expressed grief and referred to Takeoff with deep emotion. On a human level, grief can be real even when a relationship was complicated. A person can be absent and still feel loss. A person can fail in life and still hurt when death arrives. But the emotional question and the legal question are not the same. The controversy around Kenneth grew because, according to Titania's position in the sample, he had not played a major role in Takeoff's upbringing, had not provided meaningful financial support, and had not given the kind of emotional presence that defines active fatherhood. Yet, after Takeoff died, he was seeking a share of the wrongful death settlement. That is the image that made fans angry. A father described as absent stepping forward when money connected to his son's death was on the table. To be fair, the court must deal with legal rights, not internet outrage. Kenneth's argument appears to be that he is still Takeoff's parent under the law, and therefore entitled to be considered. But public opinion does not move that way. Fans look at the story and ask a different question. Where were you when he was growing up? Where were you when his mother was supporting him? Where were you before Migos became successful? Those questions may not decide a case by themselves, but they shape how the world sees the fight. And for Titania, the battle must feel like a second injury. First, she lost her son. Then she had to fight for accountability. Then, after reaching a settlement, she had to face another fight with the man she claims was barely there. It is the kind of situation that turns private family history into public evidence. Old wounds become legal arguments. Childhood memories become court records. A mother's sacrifice becomes something she has to prove. And that may be the most painful part. Titania is not only grieving Takeoff, she is being forced to explain, in formal legal terms, why her bond with her son mattered more than a biological connection that, according to her, did not carry the same weight in real life. The trial that still has not happened. While Takeoff's parents fight over the settlement and the estate, the criminal case connected to his death has moved slowly through the courts. Patrick Xavier Clark, also known as DJ Pat, was charged in connection with Takeoff's killing. According to the sample, investigators connected him to the scene through surveillance, positioning, and fingerprints found on a bottle. Prosecutors have treated him as the man responsible. His defense has maintained his innocence and raised arguments that could become central at trial. That is why this case remains so tense. From the outside, many fans believe the story is obvious. Takeoff was unarmed, uninvolved, and lost his life during chaos he did not create. But inside a courtroom, prosecutors still have to prove every piece. The defense can challenge evidence, question forensic procedures, dispute interpretation of video, and present alternative explanations. That means the true fans feel emotionally must survive the pressure of legal standards. And years after the shooting, the trial still had not delivered the final answer his family has been waiting for. That delay matters. Justice delayed does not feel neutral to grieving families. It feels like waking up every day inside the same unfinished sentence. Every new hearing, every new attorney, every new date on the calendar can reopen the wound. According to the sample, Clark was released on bond under strict conditions, including monitoring. For Takeoff's family, that image alone must be painful. The accused man living outside a jail cell while they wait for a trial that keeps moving further away. The defense has reportedly pointed towards self-defense, a claim that will have to be tested against the reality that police said Takeoff was not part of the original conflict. That is where the courtroom drama becomes intense. The case is not only about who fired, it is about what was happening in those seconds, who was threatened, who was standing where, what the video shows, what the forensic evidence can prove, and whether a jury believes the state's version beyond a reasonable doubt. For fans, it is heartbreaking. For the family, it is exhausting. For hip-hop, it is another reminder that one night of reckless conflict can echo through years of legal pain. Quavo's grief and the weight of survival. Quavo's place in this story is complicated, emotional, and impossible to ignore. He was not just Takeoff's groupmate, he was his uncle, his brother-like partner, his creative twin in many ways, and one of the last people near him before everything happened. That kind of survival carries weight. The public can debate timelines and videos, but only Quavo knows what it feels like to walk away from a moment and then realize the person you love did not. That is not something fame can soften. It is the kind of memory that follows a person into every quiet room. Before Takeoff's death, Migos was already surrounded by rumors of tension. Quavo and Takeoff had released music together, while the group's future looked uncertain. Then the tragedy happened, and all the arguments about group drama suddenly felt small compared to the reality of loss. Quavo went on to honor Takeoff publicly, including emotional tribute moments and the creation of work tied to preventing violence. The Rocket Foundation became one of the clearest examples of grief turning into action. Instead of letting Takeoff's name become only a memorial, Quavo and the family pushed it toward advocacy. They spoke about gun violence. They supported community efforts. They tried to build something that could help prevent another family from receiving the same kind of devastating news. But Quavo's grief is still layered. He lost a nephew. He lost a collaborator. He lost someone who had been beside him since before fame. And because the argument that led to the chaos reportedly involved him, the emotional burden becomes even heavier. That does not mean blame. It means trauma. It means replaying moments. It means wondering what could have changed if one sentence had been different, if one person had walked away sooner, if the night had ended 10 minutes earlier. That is the cruel math of tragedy. Survivors often live inside questions no court can answer. And while fans see the performances, the interviews, the foundation work, and the public strength, behind all of that is a man carrying the silence of someone who should still be standing next to him on stage, turning pain into purpose. One of the most powerful parts of Takeoff's story is what his mother and grandmother chose to do after the loss. Titania Davenport and Edna Maddox could have disappeared from public view, and no one would have blamed them. Grief does not owe the world a speech, but instead, they showed up. They sat in rooms where gun violence was discussed seriously. They joined conversations connected to prevention, healing, and community support. They stood beside the Rocket Foundation as Takeoff's name became attached not only to music, but to a mission. That shift matters because it changes the meaning of legacy. A legacy is not just what an artist records. It is what people build because that artist lived. For Titania, the work became deeply personal. She was not speaking as a celebrity mother chasing attention. She was speaking as someone whose life had been split into before and after. She knew what it meant to be a mother carrying dates that hurt. Birthdays, anniversaries, Mother's Day, holidays, random mornings when grief shows up without warning. In the sample, she describes grief as something that is not a sprint, sometimes not even a walk, but a crawl. That line works because it feels true. Healing is not glamorous. Some days it is movement. Some days it is survival. Some days it is needing other people to carry you until you can stand again. That is why events for bereaved mothers became so meaningful. They created a space where pain did not have to be explained. Every woman in that room understood the language without translation. And inside that shared grief, there was also strategy. Discussions about community programs, emotional support, financial help, mental health, and prevention. That is how pain becomes purpose, not by pretending the pain is gone, but by refusing to let it be wasted. Takeoff's death exposed the worst parts of fame, violence, and legal chaos. But his family's response showed something else: dignity. Even while fighting court battles, even while waiting for criminal justice, even while dealing with public scrutiny, Titania kept finding ways to make her son's name stand for more than the night he died. The battle over memory. By the time the settlement fight became public, the story was no longer only about Takeoff's death. It had become a battle over memory itself. Who gets to speak for him? Who gets to protect his catalog? Who gets to decide how his name is used? How his music is licensed? How his legacy is preserved? These questions matter because Takeoff's music is still alive. His voice still generates income. His image still carries emotional power. His story still moves fans who grew up with Migos and younger listeners discovering him after his passing. That means control over the estate is not just business. It is cultural responsibility. Titania's argument, as presented in the sample, is rooted in a lifetime of presence. She raised him. She supported him. He supported her when he succeeded. Their bond was active, visible, and financially connected. Kenneth Ball's claim is rooted in legal fatherhood and alleged loss. The court will have to decide what the law allows. But outside the courtroom, the emotional verdict from many fans already feels clear. They see Titania as the person who earned the right to guard what Takeoff left behind. Still, the law is not built on feelings alone, and that is what makes this story so tense. A judge may have to weigh facts that feel obvious to the public but require proof in court. Meanwhile, the criminal trial still looms, with Patrick Xavier Clark expected to face a jury after years of delays. That means Takeoff's mother is caught between two storms, one over justice, one over legacy. Either one would be enough to break a person. She is facing both, and somewhere underneath the legal filings, the headlines, the fan reactions, and the public debate is the simplest truth of all. Takeoff was a young man who should still be here. He should be making music, building his future, taking care of his mother, and standing beside his family. Instead, his loved ones are left trying to protect what remains. Chapter 9 ends at the edge of the final question. When the courts are done, when the trial is over, when the money is divided, what lesson will hip-hop choose to carry from Takeoff's story? And will the culture protect its quiet stars before it is too late? The legacy that must outlive. The headlines. When the final courtroom doors eventually close, when every motion has been argued, every witness has spoken, and every legal document has been filed away, one truth will remain untouched. No verdict, no settlement, and no amount of money will ever bring Takeoff back. That is the heartbreaking reality hidden beneath every headline. For years, fans have watched this story unfold through court updates, legal disputes, emotional statements, and endless online debates. But behind every article is a family still living with an empty seat at the dinner table, a phone that will never ring again, and memories that have become more valuable than any financial asset. The legal system may eventually answer who receives what, but it cannot answer the question that matters most to the people who loved him. Why did a gifted young artist lose his life over a situation he reportedly had no part in creating? Takeoff's story has become much larger than one tragic night in Houston. It has become a reflection of how quickly success, talent, and years of hard work can disappear in a matter of seconds. He represented a generation of artists who transformed Southern hip-hop, helped redefine modern rap flows, and influenced countless performers around the world. His technical precision, calm personality, and dedication to his craft earned him respect that continues to grow even after his passing. Ironically, many people now recognize just how extraordinary his talent was only because they were forced to revisit his music after he was gone. That lesson should never be ignored. Artists deserve their flowers while they are still alive to hear the applause. The ongoing conflict surrounding his estate also offers another difficult lesson. Families should never have to fight each other while grieving. Estate planning is often an uncomfortable conversation, especially for young people who believe they have decades ahead of them. Yet Takeoff's case demonstrates how the absence of clear legal planning can create years of uncertainty for those left behind. Proper planning is not about expecting tragedy. It is about protecting the people you love from additional pain during the worst moments of their lives. While no one can predict the future, preparing responsibly can prevent unnecessary legal battles from overshadowing a person's legacy. Another lesson reaches far beyond the courtroom. The culture itself must continue addressing unnecessary violence. Too many gifted artists have been lost long before reaching their full potential. Every life taken leaves behind parents, siblings, friends, collaborators, and millions of fans wondering what could have been. The conversation should never glorify violence or treat tragedy as entertainment. Instead, every loss should remind communities, artists, industry leaders, and fans that choosing de-escalation over confrontation can save lives. Respect, patience, and walking away from conflict are not signs of weakness. They are signs of wisdom. Quavo's efforts to honor Takeoff through community work and violence prevention, alongside the continued advocacy shown by Titania, Davenport, and other family members, demonstrate that unimaginable grief can still inspire meaningful action. They cannot erase what happened, but they can help prevent another family from experiencing the same nightmare. That may become one of Takeoff's greatest legacies, not only the music he created, but the conversations his life continues to inspire about protecting young lives, strengthening communities, and supporting families affected by violence. Perhaps the greatest tribute fans can offer is not endless arguments across social media, but keeping Takeoff's artistry alive. Listen to the music, study the lyricism, celebrate the creativity, introduce younger listeners to the records that helped shape an entire era of hip-hop. Remember the quiet artist whose skill often spoke louder than his words. Remember the son whose mother continues fighting to protect his legacy. Remember the human being behind the headlines. As this chapter closes, one final question remains for every viewer. What kind of legacy do we want our favorite artists to leave behind? Is it one defined by controversy, or one remembered through talent, integrity, and positive impact? The answer belongs to all of us. If you've stayed with this story until the very end, thank you for being here. Comment 1 if you believe Takeoff's legacy should always be remembered for his music first. Comment 2 if you hope hip-hop continues moving toward a future with less violence and more unity. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video so more people can learn the full story and continue honoring the artists whose influence will never fade.